means, you see a girl on the Instagram, you think maybe she looks kind of hot, you slip into her DM and say, hey, what do you think? You want to get turned?
We've seen some amazing things, but that, my friends, is something we've never seen.
Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Brandon wants advice.
Brandon Cruz wants advice. You just locked yourself into the playoffs.
Nice.
Got it.
Talk with old Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Completely speechless, to say the least.
Man, I am honestly so baffled by that decision.
Brandon Cruz wants advice. It's Brandon wants advice.
Green flag in the air. Brandon Cruz wants advice to the front.
How are you guys doing, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls? This is the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, and this video is for the NASCAR All-Star Race, and I understand that I only have about a 12-hour window for you guys to actually listen to this, so let me just get right into it. First off, I'm going to go back to doing more of a history and stats approach, because some of you guys feel like I ramble on, even though I only have like 8-minute long videos, so we're just going to get right into the history. Be sure to check out my article on Burnout Avenue. It should be posted whenever the morning comes around, because I'm making this at 2:47 a.m. Article should be done about at 3:30, something around there, and Josh and all those guys will post it probably in the morning whenever that comes out. So looking at the NASCAR race, we're going to look at the history of the All-Star race, so the last 4 years. And then after that, I'm just going to be looking at the drivers that I actually like. So going back in the history, I'm looking at 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. I'm going to go through the top 10 finishers, what I saw, what I see from those, and then what I think we can do looking forward at tomorrow's race for a fantasy perspective. So 2018, your top 10 was Harvick, Truex, Logano, Hamlin, Elliott, Johnson, Larson, Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, and DiBenedetto. Moving on to 2017, your top 10 finishes were Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Jay McMurray, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, and Denny Hamlin. 2016 winner Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., I believe. Is that Suarez? Just went blank on who drove the 19 and 2016. Then you have Kurt Busch. I believe that was the first year that Chase Elliott raced. Then you got Trevor Bayne, Biffle, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch in number 75. And then 2015 it was Hamlin, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and the 47 car. So looking at the correlations, I don't see a whole lot of correlations here. Really, the main correlation is how inconsistent, and this is just the top 10 finishers, and also DNFs are also important, but I'll get into those. But basically, out of the top 10 finishers, Logano seems to be the most consistent to at least finish in the top 10, but he's very inconsistent on where he finishes. So, for example, he's literally just a vertical up and down every single year. So 2018 he finished 3rd, 2017 he finished 8th, 2016 he won it, and 2015 he finished 8th again. So literally just 3rd, 8th, 1st, 8th, up and down. Same thing with Kyle Larson the last 2 years. Last year he finished 7th. The year before he finished 2nd in 2017, or at least the 42 car did. Yet again, if you look at Kyle Busch, really the same story applies there. 2018, he finished 9th, won it in 2017, and then finished 10th in the number 75 in 2016, and then finished 6th in 2015. I mean, those are literally the only correlations between the drivers that I can find right now. Yeah, Kevin Harvick kind of follows the same path, although he does have a DNF in 2016, or at least not a top 10 finish, which is really what I care about. So, like, for example, Harvick won in 2018, finished 6th. 2017, finished not in the top 10. 2016, then finished 2nd in 2015. Looking at the DNFs and the reason this race and the finding track history on it is so volatile is because we had different formats going into it, the way they eliminated drivers, the way they inverted the field. I mean, all this is kind of messed up. So in 2018 we have legit 5 DNFs. 5 cars do not finish. In 2017 we have 2 DNFs via crashes, but we had 8 cars eliminated because they would eliminate people throughout the night. In 2016, we had 5 DNFs. Those last 3 years, because just the way everything worked out, those are the only ones I care about. So I'm gonna say we're gonna at least have, based on the averages, we should have at least 3 DNFs tomorrow night. Now, with that said, that's a bit harder to get only because these cars are stuck to the ground with such high downforce. Looking at transfers from the Open, the last 2 years, transfers from the Open have finished well, quote unquote, at least well, like at least they got a top 10. The years before, not so much. And so basically, like 2018 and 2017, like we had a lot of good drivers winning in the Open, getting into the field that weren't already locked in. Like, for example, you had Kyle Larson, you had Chase Elliott, you had Ryan Blaney. Like, those drivers were good. They just hadn't had a win to lock themselves in the All-Star race. So they would dominate the Open, start dead last in the Open, and then finish within the top 15. Before that, you didn't have those types of drivers. You literally just had the best drivers already locked into the All-Star race. And so whenever you would get in, like with a fan vote or something like that, like you had Josh Wise come in with the Reddit. Josh Wise came in with the Dogecoin, with the Doge Dog in like 2015 or 2016, I believe. Then you had Matt DiBenedetto coming in with the Reddit car. I mean, those cars were just not up to par with the cars that were already in the All-Star race. For those of you that don't already know this, All-Star race people who are locked into the All-Star race are 2018 and 2019 winners, previous All-Star winners, champions, and so there'll be 19 drivers in the actual race, 15 already locked in from that. And I'm not going to worry about who's going to get in from the Open, who's going to get there from the Open. We're going to deal with that tomorrow. I'm not going to make a video on that. I'm not going to make any articles on that. I'm just focusing on the top 15 drivers and how their percentage or their ownership is going to look at right now. The way the All-Star race is broken down, you're going to have segment 1, which is, I don't know why they don't call it stages anymore, but at least in the All-Star race. But segment 1 is going to be 30 laps, and we're going to have two 20 laps. For first segment's 30 laps. The next 2 are both 20, and then the final one is only 15 green flag laps. Caution laps do not count, but that really hasn't even come into play because we don't frickin' wreck or anything. We do have air ducts on the hood, more downforce, and a carbon fiber splitter on the front to yet again add more downforce. What else? Oh, I just wrote down that Honda's thinking about entering NASCAR. Saying like we need more fucking rice burgers in this series. Looking at practice and looking at who I quote unquote like entering the All-Star race, even though we only have 15 cars to choose from right now. Right now, Kevin Harvick seems the most consistent out of the 10 lap averages because he has constantly been in the top 5, and basically he's just been sitting third, most consistent throughout the 2 practices. Obviously, starting field has importance, like where you start from the like entering pit road, qualifying, and all that stuff. So like for example, out of the rear starters right now, Kurt Busch is obviously the most popular, followed by Keselowski and Almirola, just because they're starting they're the last 3 starters right now. I'm thinking that they're still I still think Kurt Busch and Keselowski are still going to be high owned even when we add the other drivers from the other ways that they qualify, only because Kurt Busch has shown nothing but consistency, and same with Keselowski in this package so far. Almirola is a bit kind of wonky there. I think other people might go back to him, or might go farther back in the field. Now looking at the quote unquote chalk of the people starting up front right now, obviously it's Clint Bowyer starting on the pole. Stewart Haas has stupid fast race cars right now. I mean, he is set up to at least dominate the first segment of this race, then followed by Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. Don't think a lot of people are going to go to Austin Dillon or anything like that. Like I certainly don't see a lot of people going to Ryan Newman starting 6 or anything like that. And so just the chalk in general right now, the 15 cars that are starting the All-Star race, I have Kevin Harvick being the highest owned, followed by Kurt Busch, followed by Brad Keselowski, followed by Clint Bowyer, and then possibly Eric Almirola right now. Now, it it's tough to really call a low end play right now with only 15 cars, but the lowest I see being owned is probably Jimmy Johnson starting 8th, Ryan Newman starting 6th, and Eric Jones starting 7th. And that's only because you have honestly, the good drivers are starting either up front or in the back, and like in the middle, it's kind of just limbo. I would throw Blaney and Logano in there, but obviously, like those people, or at least those two drivers, for example, can be trusted a lot more than say like Ryan Newman or Eric Jones. You have a lot more volatility. What is it? Volatility? Or picking like Newman and Jones is a lot more volatile than picking like Ryan Blaney or Logano, because you at least know that those guys can at least finish in the top 5. I'm not too sure about Newman, but just because of that, I really do like Newman and Eric Jones for the race tomorrow. Now, listen, I'm not going to be multi-entering this. I'm just going to put one lineup together, and I will most likely try and just throw one of those dart throws out there and see where it goes. Now, I wrote another thing down right fast. Oh man, I can't even. Nope, can't even read this because I was writing it with my left hand when I was eating dinner. Fantastic. Basically, it was just gonna go over of like why I'm doing things like this now, and a lot of the times, basically all the DFS content is through right now. I'm gonna spend the next minute or so explaining why I do things the way I do. So I'm assuming that everyone who's listening to this at least listens to other people, like either Taco DFS from DFS Army, Race for the Prize, Pierce Dietrich, or DFS Tavern, or I don't know, Rubbins Racing, and then there's some other guys on YouTube. There's some other guys on Reddit, like Cheat Sheet Pros. Even though they put out some stupid ass content, sometimes they still make some a lot of things that people see, and then just other websites like it. And I assume that everyone is at least looking through, checking what other people are saying in regards to DFS, NASCAR, and fantasy NASCAR, and things of that nature. The reason that I don't go specifically into race details or analytics like I used to is because, yeah, granted, I have to do my own homework and I want to still have an edge on what I'm doing. But I mean, there's literally like 30 of us that put out good DFS content. And if you're listening to me trying to find something new that someone else hasn't really said, that I mean, and that's what I do. I play as a GPP player. I play as a like, hey, let's throw a dart throw out there. Let's see what happens. I'm not here to play chalk. Like you don't need me to tell you that Kevin Harvick has a good card this weekend. You don't need me to tell you that you need to play Kurt Busch starting 15th. Like literally, the only way he's going to screw you is if you wrecks, and I don't see a whole lot of wrecks happening this year. You don't need me to tell you that Jimmy Johnson's going to be low owned because no one can trust Jimmy Johnson starting 8th or Ryan Newman starting 6th, even though they had a fantastic qualifying position. You don't need me to tell you those things, guys. And if you do, you need way more help than what I can give you right now. I make these, and especially like later this year in football, when I want to make my football videos, I'm going to be looking at receivers that are going to be low owned, that are pure dart throws, and I'm going to tell you why I think you should play them as a dart throw. Not because, oh, I think, or because it's a better play than this, or he's faster than this other receiver. No, I'm going to tell you why I believe these people and why I would put money on him. So, like, for example, I like Newman starting 6th. Why? Because it's Ryan Newman starting 6th. He can only gain 5 positions, which is risky as hell. Risky as hell when you got 19 people in this race. But who is legit going to throw down money confidently saying that Ryan Newman is the guy to go with? Not a whole lot of people. Not a whole lot of people like Ryan Newman this weekend. I like Ryan Newman this weekend only because a lot of people don't like Ryan Newman this weekend. So if Ryan Newman does something great, I'm going to win money off of that. If he doesn't, you know what, I'm going to lose money off of that. And I understand that risk. I understand that factor. But that's why I like Ryan Newman. Same thing with Derek Jones. Same thing with Jimmy Johnson. I can guarantee you one of those 3 guys are going to be in my lineup. And I'm going to try and find some low-owned people. Blaney might even be low-owned as well. We're just going to have to see who gets in from the open and all that. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions, message me on Twitter. Leave a comment on this video. Check out my article for Burn Avenue. It's going to be really short. But, I mean, that's it. It's the All-Star race. Next weekend is the Coca-Cola 600, where, yet again, if you like how I did this, I can go into a little bit more detail, talk about history and all that type of stuff. If not, and you just want me to say what I think is going to happen and how I view GPPs and high risk plays, then let me know if you want to hear that too. But thank you guys so much for listening. Don't get married to your money, and feel free to donate to my Patreon, subscribe, and all that type of stuff. Yada yada yada. Have a fantastic night.